right, welcome everybody to the world's greatest watch market update in a review where we bring you the best watches from across the world of social media, the interwebs, only the finest. That's right. The Colonel brings you a curated selection. The Colonel brings you a curated selection of the finest watches around right now. Unbelievable but true. So let's get into this. We'll start with our first. Again, this is all heavy hitters. Heavy hitters, no shitters. And of course, leave your all you punters watching, leave your vicious and nasty comments. Let me know what you think, which watch you think is the winner. Which is the winner today? Let's start off with, of course, like a favorite of all the punters. We got a Daytona, but with a very special blue dial, gold Daytona 16528. Really nice blue dial, and hey, I think this watch would look great on a leather strap, but that's just me. So hey, we're just starting off with this. Let me know what you guys think. These are going for about 45 grand maybe right now in the market. Now here come some heavy hitters. We're done with the riffraff watches for the hoi polloi. We have the Patek Phillipe perpetual calendar. Beautiful photo. Now, the only time we show pictures here is when the watch is on a wrist. And technically, this watch is on a wrist of a lobster. And this, of course, is from John Goldberger. Ario Montanari. Oro Montanari. Oro Montanari. Uh, one of the great collectors in the world today. I mean, this guy probably has every example of every watch, mostly vintage. I think probably pre 2000 stuff. Amazing watch. Of course, the annual calendar is the 5396 is kind of based on this. And this is the beauty. I mean, I love that the calendar at the you can see that has that circular thing, and of course, the one thing is I'm not a fan. Again, I'm not a fan of these little windows. I like to have the dials, but let's keep going here. Now, here we get some a little more of the hype watches that people are wearing these days. We have the Daytona. And this is actually a pretty cool dial. This guy's actually has a good collection. He's got a good taste. I like the fact that he wears driving gloves. As do I. And actually, I had a similar pair of gloves as he's wearing, except I had the I'm not sure who makes. I think Schedoni makes these, but I bought mine from Ferrari. Now I don't have a Ferrari, but the gloves were Ferrari gloves, and I paid. I think they were like $200. This is like in 2008. Okay, that's how far back this goes. And they were actually very practical because I had time I was driving a convertible on an Audi E4 Cabriolet. I was driving that all over California, and the gloves actually give you a good grip on the wheel. And when it gets cold, my hands get cold, and when it gets cold, you can keep the top down because I would always drive with the top down. And because that top of the gloves is ventilated, it's actually very, very practical. And somehow they got lost. I think today these gloves are like $400. I'm not paying $400 for these gloves. I got the basic gloves now from I forgot the company that makes them, but yeah, $100 is the most I'd pay. But very cool watch. I'm not sold on these Oyster Flex straps though. These rubber black straps. I think they're very boring. The black rubber or Oyster Flex, whatever they call it, I think is quite boring. The watch itself is very nice, though. So this guy is continuing with the flex. He's got the gloves, and now he's got the Langenzon, the Kraut clock, as I call it. These are going for about, what, 30 grand, 35, 39 grand. Yeah, okay, so this guy's, he's doing a little flex. Now, look, the thing with these watches, I remember I was told a long time ago, Years back, a guy told me, when you're in LA, whatever car you have, there's always going to be somebody who's got something better. It's like, other cities, whatever, like you may be driving a Ferrari and why? You're the shit. But when you're in LA, there's always going to be, you're going to park the car with a valet, whatever. You think you're the king of the world, and some guy pulls up with something, Bugatti or whatever. There's always going to be something with somebody better. And sure enough, let's see what we have here. So we have this guy. He's flexing. He's got a Bentley. He's got looks like an Audi, right? Okay, I like. It's got the VW family, and here we go. Here we go. We get this Japanese guy who's got the massive collection. So he's got the Ferrari. He's got this. Now I hate this. I hate this watch. First of all, I hate chronographs, but this is the most. This has got to be the most useless. This thing is so useless that I actually think that at some point this might actually be quite valuable. I don't understand this whole limited edition. I don't know who this designer is. I don't get it. Like I don't know what this is. Like it's not my thing. And by the way, these things are obviously, I think 93 grand. That's the list price, and these things are going way over maybe double that. Again, this is like a real hype piece. And here we go. He's got another one. He's got the travel time, which is right now the street price. 400 grand. Is that I don't know if these numbers are correct or not. I'm getting crazy numbers. White gold. Again, this is the advanced research travel time. Advanced research travel time. So you got the calendar, and you have a dual time function. I have a basic travel time. And the basic travel time is only like 20 grand in gold. Unbelievable, but true. What do you punters think? What would you vote for as today's watch? So here we go. So this guy has some serious watches. Now, okay, this is our first lady collector. That's right. This is a famous, what's her name? Sume. She's a very interesting collection of watches. This is like a real collector. She's not buying hype stuff. She's like buying real, and this I think this is like the most kind of hype watch shows. Everything is mostly like independent brands, like a real high horology, like real exotic stuff, as I would call it. And here we have the FP Journe Havana brown dial to match the dog. I mean, she got the watch to match the dog. And, I think brown is a great color. And she's got this watch. I don't know what this model is. Is that some crazy tourbillon? This is the Moser, H. Moser, and MB&F collaboration. I don't know. This thing is like out of this world. I don't even know what to make of these things. This is like really like, again, I'm a very basic guy, but all these things, look, these things just kind of go to show you that there's a whole world out there beyond Rolex and Patek and AP. There's really some really interesting watches, and we're going to be going through some of those tonight. So what, again, you guys vote for what you think is the winner. Now, this is actually an interesting watch. I'm not sure if this is the JLC movement or not. So this is SF watch lover. This guy's got some interesting pieces. Ironically, I think he's his best stuff he doesn't wear, which is I think a shame. But so we have a Vacheron dual time, and this uses the GMT movement. This is, I think this is a great watch. Now, again, they have another dual time for 9 grand. Now, we have a special guest tonight. We're going to be bringing a special guest, actually. He's a little bit late, but we have a special guest live from Hollywood. Special guest. We have Mr. Brando.
Hey, how are you doing, man?
Oh, fantastic. Well, you're very, I got to tell you, you're like the real Marlon Brando. You got the neck scarf. The jacket.
A little bit.
Listen, I appreciate that you're showing up properly attired for a serious horology program like this. These things are very serious. Now, what are we smoking there?
I'm in our usual cigar lounge, just smoking some cheap cigar, just relaxing.
Oh,
Let's say.
now you're actually what? I actually, it's funny, and I've seen, I've watched a couple of your videos. Now you're based in L.A., right? You're in L.A.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, and I think it's funny. I lived in L.A. for a while. I was in Marina Del Rey, and you there's a cigar place. I think what's that cigar place in Beverly Hills that you did this? What's called with an N? What's this store? This
Nazareth.
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 I passed by there. It's like a little passageway, right? It's like a passageway type of thing.
Yes, it is. It's basically like a European style arcades. There used to be a nice cafe which just closed. There's like a
Yeah.
hairdresser, jewelry store.
Everything.
It's that kind of
You
spot.
know, it's funny. I kind of I The last time I was living in LA, I had a boat. I was living on the boat in the Marina Del Rey, and I left after I sold the boat, and I was gone for a couple of years. I came back. Beverly Hills, where the source, it's completely changed. A lot of everything, a lot of places are closed. It's like completely like
Yeah.
new. It's like the world's been turned upside down.
One of the things I like about that place, or maybe you would know this spot as well, called the Grill on the Alley
The grill, yes.
restaurant.
Is that still open?
Yeah,
Okay, thank
so
God.
they're celebrating their 40th anniversary this year,
Okay,
but
okay,
these are holdouts. They're
okay,
still old school, old school
okay,
Beverly Hills, old school LA, not what you have
okay.
been seeing perhaps when you came back and
Yeah,
didn't
exactly.
necessarily appreciate perhaps.
Now, Mr. Brando, the idea of this program is, we're
Mm.
doing a review of interesting watches, right? And as a man now, you're a man of wealth and taste, and you have a very good taste, as we've seen in your videos. And I want to get your opinion on some of these watches. Can you see it on your? Are you watching this on your phone? Can you see the slides that we're showing?
No, now I can. Yeah, now I can.
Okay, okay. You know
Hmm.
what I'm going to do? Because you came in a little bit late. We started, listen, these things, listen, it's like a Swiss clock. We start on time, 6 o'clock, Pacific, it goes, by the way, where, I can't figure out your accent. What are you, German? Like, where are you, Dutch? What are you?
I'm a Jew.
You're
That's the
Jewish.
only
Where
thing you need
from?
to know. Yeah.
No, where are you from? What is your accent from?
It's supposed to be mysterious.
No, I know your accent I can't figure it out. It's a mis.
I, I,
You're
I've never been able to figure it out myself.
international man of mystery. Now, you're like a part-time actor, because you could literally be a stand-in for young Marlon Brando, 100%,
I wish. I wish. I'm not that talented.
100%. So let's do this. We're gonna start off. I'm gonna start off. Let me back up. Let me back up here. I want to get your opinions here on some of these pieces. We're
Sure.
gonna go through this quick. Now, we're gonna start off with the basics. I only have this because I like the dial, blue and gold. What's your take on this? Buy, sell, or
Look,
hold? We do buy, sell, or hold.
okay. I would say buy. When it comes to the 5-digit Daytona, people who know me and my videos would know that's my sweet spot. That's my favorite range when it comes to the Rolex Daytona. I like how balanced the dial is. I like the historical importance of it being the first generation of self-winding chronographs by Rolex. I like that shared heritage with Zenith. I like, if you do the cross section of the dial, it's perfectly balanced. And obviously, because of that, because it stands at that threshold where it's still not too expensive, but I think it will gain value. I don't make investment advice, but
Right. This is
because
not.
it's
We're
the
not.
last
This is not
generation,
right. This is not
because it's the
investment
last
advice.
generation, yeah, because it's the last generation of
Yeah.
outsourced chronograph movements, I
Mhm.
think it holds an importance where people will come back to it in the future. The gold ones, I think, are particularly brilliant. The stainless steel is always great. The
Yeah.
two-tone is cheap as chips. It's a great range.
What do you
Buy.
think of the blue dial though? With the blue dial, I think that's the killer. I mean, otherwise, like, I don't. You know, by the way, I hate chronographs personally. Like, I mean, like, it's useless. But to me, but like the blue dial, I think is the killer here. No.
It is, but you know, Rolex Passion Report has a lot of rare stuff that you can't really find elsewhere, and sometimes even fake shit that he passes off as legitimate and prototype and this and that. So don't go around looking for a blue dial
Now, is this?
16528
Are you
at
saying? Are
that
you
price
saying
point.
this? Are you saying this is a Fugazi?
It might be a prototype dial he found from somewhere. I wouldn't say that there are many that float around, especially not at that price point.
Okay, okay, fair enough. Well, this is why we have you. This is why we have you on the program here. Next up. By the way, would you do this? What's your take on this? Would you wear this on a gold on the bracelet, or would you put this on a leather strap?
Hmm. Can you see?
Hang on, hang on. I see. This is why I have you on here because you know what? I appreciate this. That's there. You go. There. What kind of strap is that? Where'd you get that from? That's from. Is that a Jean Rousseau?
No, that's Hermes.
Or oh, excuse
Yeah.
me, excuse me. I apologize. I apologize. You know, we're not at the aristocratic level. Now that looks like an Hermes also neck scarf there, no?
Uh,
Yes. It
no,
looks
it's Rubinacci,
Oh,
Neapolitan. Yeah.
whoa. Mariano Rubinacci. Oh, mi dispiace.
Certo.
Okay, okay. All right. We got the Commandatore. All right. You know, it's funny. Actually, I
But
bought
yeah, so if I like, you know, especially that generation, 4-digit, 5-digit
yeah,
Rolex, I think looks like $1 million on a leather strap.
yeah,
Obviously, if you want to flash, if you want to flex, you
yeah.
might want to keep
Then
it on the bracelet, but I like
yeah.
it on the leather strap.
The strap is. Oh, we got some comments here. Douche watch or go, but he says the douche level goes down on a strap. I agree. You know, if you put that on a suede strap or some sort of something, not it really it looks classy. It really looks. Otherwise, this looks like an old man from Miami with white chest hair on the beach. You know. Okay, now, Commandatore, what do you think? What do you think? This is from John Goldberger.
I love it. Um, you know, this is what the Italians call padellone, the big frying pan, because they
Yeah, yeah,
are
yeah.
these large dials and oversized for the time period, 37 and a
Yeah.
half. One of my favorite reference points. It's also the first automatic perpetual calendar by Patek. Um, again, buy. That's an absolutely
You know,
mind-blowing watch.
I actually, my thing is I don't like those date windows. I like to see the dials. I mean, again, I know it's whatever. The watch is stunning, but to me, I just like to see time go in a more of a intuitive manner. You know what I mean? It's like that's the one thing. But otherwise, these I listen. This is beyond my. This is like beyond my pay grade. This is like real high level vintage stuff here. But this is stun, and the photo is amazing.
Look,
We only
Colonel,
showed.
speaking of being douchey with watches, I think putting your watches on food, that's the absolute that's the mega douche move. We approve of this. Um, but I agree with you actually, Colonel. When it comes
It's
to the
on the wrist.
aesthetic
It's
of
on
a
the wrist. It
perpetual,
is.
it's when it comes to the aesthetic of the perpetual, I do agree with you. I like the balance of different subdials. So I
Yeah.
I agree. I prefer that, but because this is such a legendary reference, and because at the time it was about making a watch that's all dial, that would have that kind of presence on the wrist, they went with something that's a little more minimalistic. I think that was intentional.
But you know what? Actually, now that I think about it, again, this is from the 1960s. We got to kind of go back in time. And to have this, I think, was a more modern look instead of the sub dials. This is probably, would you say so? It was like this was the more modern, and this is what they're going to today, which I hate. To me, the modern Patek, I really don't like them. They're too big, whatever. But I don't know. Let's. What's your take on modern Patek? Do you like those new big watches that they have?
Look, I mean, I think, again, we are kindred spirits at some level, because a lot of the newer Patek stuff I do find a little too large on the wrist. I do have a small wrist, so that might just be my own insecure take. But I also, sometimes they find that sweet spot between dressy and sporty, but a lot of times I feel like they're trying too hard. You remember that Steve Buscemi meme from 30 Rock when he goes back to high school dressed up like a kid and says, like, how are you doing, fellow kids?
No,
So
you're right.
To me that's contemporary Patek, like an old guy trying
Oh,
too hard to be
oh,
cool.
oh, oh, it's brutal. The brutality, the horror, the horror. No, but no, that's what it is. I tell you, here's the thing. Look, the companies are being run by the new guy, right? And I gotta tell you, my pet peeves with Patek with a lot of the Swiss companies is, I don't like some of the fonts that they use, or like, they always sometimes they get like, again, the new watches are just too like, is it a dress watch? Is it a sport? Like, what is it? I can't figure out. And they got those syringe hands, as they called, which I can't stand. Like, they're trying to be vintage. They're all over the map. They're all over the map. But that's a discussion we should have for another time. I know your time is limited. You're a busy man. I know you're a busy man. You got people to go, places to go. So I'm gonna run through this real quick to get your take. Okay, speaking of douche watches, but now listen, you got to give the guy props on the driving gloves, no?
Yeah, I like it. I like it. It's a nice aesthetic.
What do you
You
think
know,
of the
you
what do
you gotta you. I, no one is trust me. No one is getting hurt in the production of this video. The I like it. The we were talking about how I do long for the times where you could wear a lot of the Rolex watches on a leather strap and pop it out yourself and modify and whatever else. But in the contemporary range, the Oyster Flex kind of gives you that feel. You are wearing a precious metal watch, clearly a very flashy watch, but the rubber band does dress it dress it down. On the other hand, it's also, I was very skeptical in the beginning too, before I could spend some time with these things. It's not really a rubber band. It is a bracelet. It has those titanium enforcements in it. So when it's sized for your wrist, it's very comfortable. It's very casual, as casual as a flashy precious metal Rolex watch go. So I like that. I like that.
I'll tell you what my pet peeve with these I actually never had one on my wrist. I did have a rubber thing I put on a Submariner. Uh, the thing I hate about this thing is I don't like black. Like, black is I think it's a very formal color. And, on a sport watch, black, I think is just too, it's too, what's the word? It's too, it's like wearing
It's too
black
stark,
shoes.
too stark of a contrast. I
It's
get it.
yeah,
I can.
it's like wearing black shoes to the beach. You're going to the boardwalk. I mean, can you imagine going to the Santa Monica Pier wearing black, shoes, leather shoes?
No.
I mean, that's what I find. But by the way, actually, I'm a big fan of the gloves. I had a pair of these once, and it got lost. Next up, Langenzone, same gloves, different car, same glove, same collector, same collector.
Yeah. I Langewan is an icon, and I don't know if you know this. A lot of people miss out on this beautiful detail since I think it's since 2016. Lange started doing the moon phase in this way where they have two superimposed discs, right? Right. So that moon phase actually also serves as a day-night indicator as well. So there's the moon phase disk, which obviously makes a rotation in a lunar month, and then there is a disk that changes from like a pale blue sky to the night sky every 24 hours. So
What do you
uh,
feel? What do you
so I
think
like
about the
that. I like that
stance?
execution of the moon phase in Lange one. I would
Okay,
get the simple version. I would just get the standard, you know, iconic classic design. But I like their execution of the moon phase when they did this day-night indicator modification.
I'm only, again, like the watches. It's interesting. The watches I'm showing today, none of these really are my taste for the most. I mean, it's like not really my taste. And look, I'm doing this for the punters. The punters, they like the Lang or whatever. To me, I don't I really don't like the aesthetic. I mean, I can't get into it. I just can't. To me, it's like too. It's like I don't know, old fashioned. It's a little bit too. I don't know where they're going. It's like I know supposedly the whatever the finishing is beautiful, etc. I don't really care. I mean, I find the dial just. I mean, it's very the date we it's it's not my thing.
I can see that, but like you said, you gotta you gotta keep a broad spectrum.
Yes.
You know, you gotta
What
try to
buy
appeal
sell or
to
hold?
more than just your taste.
Brando, buy sell or hold on the Langa.
I would say hold in this case. I would prefer something simpler. I like the Lange one as it is, as it originally came out in 1994. That classic 38.5 millimeter size, which this one is. But the moon phase I can do without, even though it is, again, it's a nice addition, especially with that day night indicator function.
Next up, what do you make of this? What do you make of this AP here?
Uh, yeah, what can I say? What can I say? I don't really, this is another brand that I don't really like in its contemporary cast. I don't like the direction they're going. Some might
It's a
blame me
little,
of cognitive. Say it again.
it's a little, it's it goes back to the thing you were saying. It's like what's that skit? The hello, fellow kids. Like they're trying to be like, I don't know. They're pandering. They're like it's like I don't know what. It's like too much. It's like it's all over the map. But when they do it, when the Royal Oak, when some of the watches, when they really pull off, they're stunning. But when they do this type of, it's like ugh. It's like it makes me nauseous. But hey, it's well done. I mean, it's useless.
Yeah, it's a lot of these collab versions I can't really suffer. I like, look, traditionally, in terms of their history, I respect the brand, but when it comes to Royal Oaks, I don't like the variations all that much. I like the original jumbo. I like the perpetual calendars. I kind of like the things they do with ceramic, but it's just way too expensive for what it is and way too exclusive for me to even get near it. So I don't get too involved in it, to be honest.
Now, this guy, it's interesting. I was before you came on. I was saying like there's we're showing different stuff. This from Instagram. Everybody's like flexing. And I remember there was years back there was a guy I knew who was it was a guy in the construction business who actually was a big watch collector, and he was told me, what, like at the time I was in New York, he said, what, in New York, whatever, if you have a nice car, people will be impressed, right? Let's say you have a Ferrari or something, a Bentley, people are impressed. But in LA, if you're in LA, You can never impress anybody because there's always going to be some other asshole who's going to pull up with a much better car. Whatever you have, there's always going to be some guy who's going to pull up with a much better car. And this is like what we're seeing here is like, the first guy who's flexing, he's got his Daytona, he's got the leg. And this guy, I don't know if you can see, this guy's collecting. He's got everything. Now, let's dive in. Let's go a bit further. He's got the advanced research.
Right.
And
the Terminator.
This guy's had this guy must have like $30 million worth of watches. He's got crazy stuff. By the way, we got a comment. Brando, what do you think? FP Journe better take on this kind of old school than Lange?
I don't know. I think their styles are very distinct. I can see the parallel, in a very general abstract sense, in the sense that they both, are influenced heavily by classical vintage watch design, even certain pocket watch, origins. But, I think they're very distinct, and they do cater to, I think, also different kinds of clientele, different kinds of collectors. Horses for horses. I think they're both great.
Yeah.
If it
Yeah.
strikes their fancy.
No question. No, this guy's got some. Okay, here we go. Here, Journe. Here we got a Journe. Now you notice this lady. She matches it with the dog in the brown with the dog. This is
the Havana dial is that's the lounge lizard watch. Match it with your cigar wrapper, match it with your dog, match it with your skin if you can pull it off. It's I like the way they do the dials. Journe is a brand again that I admire from far. It's not really my taste exactly. There are one or two things that I really like.
Tell me,
from their range.
Brando, I bet the thing that you don't like is the hands. Is it the hands?
No, not necessarily. It's just, to me, sometimes it's all about the face. There's a reason that we call the dial of a watch the watch face, right? You have to have this sort of personal, almost emotional connection with the watch. And for me, except for the old school chronograph they had, the Octa chronograph, which has this sort of, again, pocket watch inspired design, with off-center dial, but centrally deployed seconds. I really like that. I like an oversized date indication, as you can see, between Lange and Journe. That's something shared, even though their execution of it is really different. I don't know. Anything else in the lineup doesn't really strike me. I always find one thing not to like it. But the dials I generally like. Their Havana dial is my favorite.
It's beautiful, yeah. Ciao tutti. Buona serata, buonasera, buonasera. It's 6 o'clock on the West Coast, right? Buonasera.
6:35, yeah.
6:35. There we go. We got okay, now. You ever seen this before? Have you ever seen this?
Not in person, no.
I mean, have you ever seen? I don't. What is it? It's a tourbillon. What's going on here? Like it's MB&F, which, I can't get it. I can't get into Moser. I can't. I'm showing because I find it interesting. You know what it is? I appreciate that somebody out there really is actually, they're like serious collectors, and they're not buying hype pieces. They're not just buying a Daytona or a date or whatever. They're really kind of going, sort of in these, on these kind of different paths. I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
And but I couldn't get it. This is a tourbillon of some sort, no?
Yeah, I think it's what they call a cylindrical tourbillon. It's like it rotates in, I think, in two different axes, maybe.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, we got Australians on here. Wow.
Yeah, and they have like a slanted placement of that sapphire dial for the.
It's cool. This is a woman. This is the same one. This is this same lady.
Yeah.
Uh, Unbelievable. Okay, now, what do you think of it? This is a pretty basic. I mean, dual time. Is this a JLC movement? Do you know? Is this a JLC movement that they're using?
I think in the dual time they use a new generation movement. The perpetual calendars, the ultra thin perpetual calendars in the overseas range are still based on the JLC 920, but this should be the new generation.
This is a new. Okay, because I they had the other one. I think which was the previous one, which was based. Which was like JLC did one. AP did. Actually I have the JLC one. I thought it was a great watch. Um, I think it's kind of it's a little bit. I think it's a little bit. What is it? It's a little bit overpriced. This is the actual price. These things are selling for like this 20 to 30 grand, which I think is. I don't know. It's a little. What's your take? Buy, sell, or hold, Brando. Buy, sell, or hold on this.
So, if I may say very quickly about what you just pointed out, I remember the new generation, this generation of overseas came out in 2016, and they, I think the time and date, the basic model at the time was priced around 13 and a half or something like that.
Yeah.
And over time, I mean, between 2016, 2017 to 2023, now 2024, they have almost doubled in price with all these regular price increases. So
Sell, sell,
um,
sell.
yeah, I would say if you can get it at retail, turn around and sell it. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not.
You
Vacheron
know.
Constantin is a great brand. Again, I love the brands. Overseas is not my favorite range, but it's the dual time I don't like much. I think the time and date version of it is the best one still. I would say
Yeah.
that. I don't like the chronograph either. The perpetual calendars are great, but they're a little too expensive. And as you see, they will realize this quite soon. But already, even the overseas, except for 222, most of their watches are back to normal now, right? On the secondary markets, they're
Less.
actually
Discount.
discounted.
Discount.
Yeah,
This.
yeah. So
No.
it's
Okay.
it's like they need to realize that they need to start catering to their collectors again. Stop following the hype. Preserve what is distinctive about the brand. You are sitting on the oldest, longest running manufacturer. It's an amazing brand, but they should adjust to the times again and maybe do away with the price increases for some time. Stop doing it at least twice a year.
Well, the Swiss. The Swiss are. They're like a calculator. Every year, it's like 3.2%. Whatever it is. It's always like it's. Now, here's the thing. Now, I want to get your take on this. What do you make of the bezel? I mean, this kind of this stylized Maltese cross. Because one thing bothers me is that dirt would get trapped. I know it sounds like a whatever, but like this to me is like a place where dirt gets accumulates in these little crevices, and it's a little bit like I don't know. It's like I know what they're trying to do, but like I don't know. Is it like I believe form follows function. I love decoration. I love crazy, but
Yeah.
like I don't know. What does it make sense to you? This bezel or no? This overseas bezel.
I'm not a huge fan of this excessive investment in symbology or whatever you want, a symbolism of the Maltese cross. I think they could do with less, between their own logo, the bezel, and like every single link of the bracelet. There's a little bit too much going
It's
on
too
for my
much. Yeah,
taste.
it's yeah,
But
troppo.
I
Yeah,
do
it's
like the
too.
design. The design of the bezel I actually like, even though you're right. It does trap a lot of gunk over time, although it's also very easy to clean, just with
Yeah,
a Q-tip. What do the Americans call it? The Q-tip? You can
yeah,
clean.
or a toothbrush maybe, but you know what it is? They're too big. They're like these things are huge. They're like what 40? I think are they what size? Is it 40? The big is it like 41 or it's a huge size?
The time and date is 41. I think the dual time, is it a
Perpetual.
little bigger?
The perpetual, I think, is like 41 millimeter. I think it's 41.
No, the dual time is 41 as well. I think the perpetual is not bigger either. The
Yeah, but
perpetual is
it's
the
huge. It's too big. It's too much. It's too much. It's too much. I mean, for me, I could wear a Rolex 40. I can't wear
yeah.
an EP 39. It's too. It's like too.
I
We
I
got a
like
question.
the jumbo. So 39 for this style of watch is for me the sweet spot, but 41, you're right. It's a little too big. I agree.
Uh, we got a question. Brand, I'm going to let you answer this. Chopard Eagle. What do you think of
I
this?
like the Chopard Alpine Eagle, especially if you can get the new XPS version, which is a little more sleek. It has the LUC Chopard, the high grade micro rotor movements. That's a beautiful watch. So far, they only offer it with that salmon dial, and it's a little bit of a weight. Um, I think they take some sort of refundable deposit, and they can deliver it within the year, as far as I know. Chopard is a great brand. It's one of my low key favorites. Again, it's for people who love the watch, who are not interested in investment, who are not
Yeah,
interested in just flipping.
you're
If you love the
basically
watch, it's a great product. I think it's style of the Alpine Eagle, even though it's clearly influenced by everything else, is
yeah.
quite distinctive as well. I like it.
I don't.
Just to
I,
without interrupting, I have about 5 more minutes, maybe,
hmm.
Colonel. So
Okay.
just to put
We're
that
gonna
out
run
there.
through this real quick. We're gonna run through this real quick. I know you have a meeting at the studios for the next project. Hang on, we got okay. FP Journe, buy, sell, hold.
Uh, yeah,
I'll
I'm
take it
not
as a
too
pass.
hot on
Take it as a pass.
this particular mod.
Okay,
Pass.
okay.
Yeah.
Brando, this is for you. This has you written all over it.
He has just posted this, right? The
Yes,
lounge.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, he sent me this
It's
picture. I said, "You send me a picture on the wrist." So show it on the. This is beautiful, no?
yeah, it is. Look, I can't get on board with some of their more out of the box designs. I've
Yeah,
never been a fan of the crash. I don't like the pebble, but these sorts of play with geometric shapes, straight lines. Um, I like it. I like it. This is, losange or lozenge is like like a candy,
yeah.
right? Like
This is
Ricola.
it's
You
yeah,
know Ricola?
it's marron. Yeah, no, this is like a royal oak. It's an octagon shape. They probably it's a little bit in that things were in that there must have been some sort of influence. No.
There are a lot of octagonal shapes from around that time, from Cartier, um, from Longines, from Gérard Janta's own brand. Between the late 60s and 70s, they play around with these shapes a lot. I think, Cartier, vintage or contemporary, if you want a design watch, if you want something a little more stylized, dressy, showy, they make some
Yeah,
good
they make nice stuff.
objects.
They make
They
nice
make
stuff.
some good objects. If you're
Okay.
invested in the horology, that's another ball game. But vintage stuff most of the time is run, powered by JLC based calibers. So it's not like it's lacking necessarily either.
Um. Okay. What do you think of this? You ever seen this before?
I don't like this brand. Yeah, the planetarium is an interesting concept, but I think again it's a little too contrived for my taste.
Too much. What's too much? You're a poet. You're a poet at heart. I think it's an interesting thing. I mean, would I ever buy? No, but it's like it's cool that somebody actually put time into. It's a little bit like a Jacob and Co. But like a cleaner version. Like a Jacob watch.
Yeah.
It's got the.
Look again, going back to what we were saying about this particular program where you're trying to broaden the horizons a little bit. I think there's a place for this. in the horological world, so to
Yeah.
speak, in the horological universe, but in the constellation of
What don't you like
horological
about
planets.
what
Um,
don't you what don't you like about this basically? What do you find, what do you feel is wrong here?
I'm not saying wrong, but I like some romantic complications myself. I like a moon phase indicator, but what the hell is a planetarium? What function is there to that? Like why do you have that on the face of a watch?
That's how I feel about chronographs because, like, I have a yacht master. If I want to know time, I don't need to know to the second. What am I timing? I never
Yeah.
met a single person, a single human being who's ever used that function on a chronograph. Anybody. I have a Submariner. I got the yacht master. I get the same. I don't need, and I use it all the time. On a yacht master, I use it all the
Yeah.
time.
No,
When I
you are.
park my
I mean,
car.
you're right. You're right in a sense because most of the functions of the chronograph can be taken over by the rotational dive timing bezel, right? That's it. You don't need anything much more than that. You're right. A lot of complications are excessive, but then again, wearing a mechanical watch is excessive. So I understand there are collectors who like this kind of stuff. It's just not for me. For me, it's too much. For me, it's trying too hard.
Brando,
We have one more watch, if
oh,
I may, because I
oh,
do need to go.
oh yeah, yeah, no, we're done. We ran through everything. We had 13. We had a lucky
Okay.
13. I want to get your take. What is the winner? What do you say is the winner? Which of the watches? What do you think is like? What do you think is the best one in the group?
The first one for me, for my money, for my take, it's the 16528.
Okay. Wow.
Get it,
Wow.
get it with a black dial, get it with a champagne dial. It's still
Okay.
a decent deal. If you give it a few months, I think before the end of the year, especially, this will be an even better deal. This is my pick. The
Wow.
Zenith Daytona in gold.
And what
That's it.
about two tone? What about two tone?
Two-tone is a great deal already. I think if you're
Yeah.
looking for value for money, you like the Daytona, the silver dial ones, especially for the two-tone, which are a little harder to find, but I think are really pleasing to the eye. I like those.
Okay. Brandon, we're gonna wrap it up. You're a busy guy. Okay. So if everybody to find you, your channel is what? Tell
Yeah,
people
my
your channel.
channel is actually, since they instituted this handle system, it's at
Oh,
Young Brando. You can find me on YouTube. On Instagram, it's at young.brando. And you know, thank you for inviting me. Again, it's not, I love this pretense of I'm too busy, whatever else. It's just, it was too
no,
short
it
of a
was
notice.
no, it was a last minute. No, I contacted you said
No,
it was like a last minute. Let's get some.
it, wa- it, wa-
It was a last.
next time, I promise, if I'm at
Mhm.
home, we can sit down, we can have 2 hours. I run
Excellent.
my shows for hours and hours on end, so I do have time, just not
Okay.
today. But it
Excellent.
was a pleasure to join.
What's the last question? We got from the punters. The punters want to get your opinion. Two tone root beer GMT.
Today's version, um, because I'm wearing the two-tone root beer GMT with the nipple dial, as you guys can see.
Oh, the nipple
Um,
dial.
but today's version, I actually do like it. The only thing that I think they have done with a very intentional purpose, because Rolex always has some sort of rationale behind it. They didn't want to have something too polarizing when they introduced the two-tone again into the GMT master range. Now they have the so-called Guinness, as you know, but when root beer came out, that was the first modern two-tone GMT master. Um, so they went with a black dial. I like the root beer with the root beer dial, with the
Brown.
chocolate
Yeah.
brown dial. I prefer that, but I understand why they went with black. I like it. I think it's a great watch. I like two-tone watches. I think it's a Rolex staple. Um, in a way, we were talking about douchey watches. It kind of hovers around this ambivalent space
Yeah, there's
where
a
where
fine
it's
line. There's a fine line, right? There's a fine
where it's
line.
arguably, Colonel, arguably it's even douchier than the precious metal. But then again, it's also a little bit
It's
more pared back, a little more toned down.
it's
Um,
the
I
word
like it.
is Brandon. Would you appreciate the word is it's louche.
That's a great one. I like that.
That's what these things are. Okay, we're gonna have to get you back on very soon for an
Of course.
extended thing. We'll talk about your taste of watches, your philosophy of collecting, all that. I'm gonna let you go. Have a wonderful night. Thank you for joining, and thank you all the punters for joining us tonight. We'll see you on the next one.
Thank you, guys. Bye.